Hello everyone, back to you into today's video. We're going to have another look at the Christmas period, but run up to Christmas and then the Christmas period itself. It looks so we've got some very wet weather coming up. I was talking about the battle royale yesterday between the high pressure to the northeast but low pressure in the Atlantic. It's still on course to see this battle, which means very heavy rain is likely over the next few days running up to Christmas. There will unfortunately almost certainly be flooding as we move towards Christmas, and some very unfortunate people are going to be spending Christmas flooded out, I'm afraid. So pretty serious weather coming up. Now, for a get on video, I just want to talk about the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad overlay my weather videos at GazWeatherVids.com. Please play us, you actually be supporting GazWeatherVids.com by doing that. So I'd like to get through today, so I'm going to scoot through the chart very quickly. We're starting off on Saturday the 22nd of December. GFS model is showing high pressure up here over Scandinavia, stretching back into Russia. The low pressure is in the Atlantic with this ridge of high pressure developing over Spain and Portugal. This high pressure is a nuisance. If this high pressure wasn't developing down here, we'd almost certainly be taking these low pressures through and bringing in an easterly wind. So this high pressure down over Iberia has really been the fly in the ointment if you're looking for cold weather for Christmas. But anyway, let's concentrate more on the rainfall leading up to Christmas, because that's going to be the big story, I think, over the next few days. On Saturday, we've got the low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, pushing weather fronts in across the country, and it's this high pressure that's causing the problem with this, because usually these low pressure systems would scoot through across the country quite quickly on the jet stream and move away into the North Sea and in towards Scandinavia. But because this high pressure up to the northeast is blocking the track of these low pressures, instead the low pressures are becoming slow moving and the weather fronts are getting stuck across the British Isles, which is what's going on here, and producing many more hours worth of heavy rain than would normally be the case. So yeah, this is the situation on Saturday. The low pressure coming up against the blocking area of high pressure to the northeast, but weather fronts are slow moving. Heavy rain is ensuing, and what happens on Saturday is that instead of that low pressure taking its normal track, which would be up to the northeast, heading out across northeast Scotland, the low pressure actually slides through across England and Wales and slides into central parts of Europe, and we maintain quite a cold easterly wind here up over Scotland. So we can see we've got a big thermal temperature gradient in the upper atmosphere across the British Isles as we go into the weekend. We've got the -5 isotherm here across much of Scotland, but the +5 isotherm is across England and Wales. So if you can imagine, we've actually got over a 10 Celsius temperature difference in the atmosphere at the weekend, a big temperature gradient there, and that's quite unusual to see that at this time of year. Normally at this time of year you get that sort of temperature gradient in continental situations, and of course in the summer we do get big temperature gradients across the country, and that's what produces the violent thunderstorms, of course, that we get in the summer. But for the winter months, this is quite unusual to see such a pronounced temperature gradient across the country, and this really fuels the heavy rain. This is really what gives the energy to the atmosphere to produce the heavy rain, and the weather fronts being slow moving keep that rain going for many hours. Now as we move into Sunday, that first area of low pressure that we was looking at on Saturday is now over Germany. It's slid away from England and Wales into Germany, but the next area of low pressure is heading in, and that's bringing yet more heavy rain in off the Atlantic, and that low pressure then becomes slow moving across the country as we go into Sunday. There's the high pressure still blocking up to the northeast as well, although highs are declining a little bit. And then as we move through into Christmas Eve, that low pressure is still there, but it's starting to move away into the North Sea. And we're beginning to pull down a bit of a colder north to northwesterly wind here with this. And as we go into Christmas Day, we actually have quite cold air across the country. On this morning's midnight run of the GFS model, at least, we've taken that low pressure through into central parts of Europe again. We've pulled down much colder air from the north. The next area of low pressure is awaiting in the Atlantic, starting to move into that, and that that could, well, if that happens like that, bring some snow on Christmas Day into Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England. But I have to emphasise, this is just the GFS midnight run. This is just the idea from the midnight run of the GFS, and most of the other models that we use actually don't agree with this. But beyond this, the midnight run of the GFS takes that next area of low pressure down across the country. Again, remember, it could be producing snow for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England as it does so, but it moves it away into Boxing Day. But we're still maintaining this northerly wind really across the country. We're still maintaining a northerly flow with a bit of a high pressure ridge there in the Atlantic just to the east of Iceland. So GFS actually go for quite a cold Christmas this morning. Very wet running up to Christmas, then quite a cold spell a couple of days over Christmas Day and into Boxing Day as well. And unsettled too with risk of snow up in the north. But I have to emphasise it is on its own really with doing this. If we have a look at the ECMWF, this is again for Saturday. We're starting off with the weather fronts strung out across the country. The high pressure is up to the northeast, but low pressure is in the Atlantic. Weather fronts are in this battleground producing a lot of heavy rain, and moving further on, the first low pressure going into Sunday is sliding away into Central Europe. The next low pressure is coming in from the Atlantic, bringing yet more heavy rain. And then things diverge from the GFS because what happens is that the low pressure becomes a very deep feature in the Atlantic. We take these weather fronts across the country through Christmas Eve, finally clearing them away. The high pressure to the northeast collapses down into the southeast of Europe, taking cold air down into the east and the southeast, and we're left in this broad westerly flow as we go into Christmas Day. This isn't particularly cold, certainly nowhere near as cold as the midnight run of the GFS. This is bringing in showers, maybe some longer spells of rain into the west, but the main thing really is that it's generally quite mild, windy and bright and breezy, sort of showery type Christmas Day. And that westerly then is maintained as we go in towards Boxing Day as well, taking this westerly across the country. Again, it's not particularly cold air. In fact, we can have a look at the upper air temperatures and we can see that the air is generally quite mild with this low pressure, so a much less cold scenario from the GFS than from the ECM than the GFS for Christmas. Have a look at the Canadian model, GEM. Again, we've got the battle going on here as we go up to the run up to Christmas. This is actually for Christmas Eve. We're taking another weather system in across the country on Christmas Eve, producing copious amounts of rain. As we go to Christmas Day, it's all turned much more simplified. We're bringing in this strong westerly flow, not particularly cold, and this is feeding in sunshine and shower. Quite tightly packed ice bars, so windy, with risk of gales on Christmas Day, actually, if that is right. But the real thing about weather over the next few days is not so much Christmas, but it's the run up to Christmas and the heavy rain. And this is the total rainfall expected up to midnight on Christmas Eve, from now up till midnight on Christmas Eve. And look how wet the GFS model is forecasting it to be. 60, 70, 80 millimetres of rain quite widely across much of England and Wales. So we're talking about at least over half an inch of rain for a lot of people over the next 4 or 5 days. And that rain is falling onto already sodden ground and full rivers, so it means only one thing, and that is that we're going to see large amounts of flooding. Now all this starts to do at kick-off tomorrow, and we're going to find rain coming in from the west through the course of tomorrow. If you have a look at the high resolution NAE model, we can see that the rainfall will be moving in from the Atlantic through the course of tomorrow. Don't worry, it'll load up in a moment. Just got to wait for it to come. Here it comes. Yep, we've got the rain coming in from the Atlantic through the course of tomorrow. The first of many weather systems that are going to be crossing the country, pushing in through Wednesday, and that rain will then turn heavy as we move in towards Wednesday night into Thursday. This is the forecast for 6 o'clock on Thursday morning. Very heavy rain. These pink splotches here just indicate that there could be some snow on higher ground, or at least some wintry falls on higher ground, but really it's the rain that's making particularly focused for England and Wales. Wednesday night into Thursday morning, very, very wet. And then that's just the start of it, because we get more bouts of heavy rain coming in beyond that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, looking very, very wet indeed. There's going to be flooding, almost certainly. Very unfortunate, but some people will be flooded for Christmas. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.